You're listening to Big World Network.
Phineas Frakture and the Princess of Atlantis, Episode 7, written by Joseph Gatch, read by Michael Young.
"Isn't that exactly what I told you not to do?"
asked Abigail, pointing her finger right under Phineas's nose.
"If you will let me explain,"
Phineas said by holding up his hands and backing into the wall.
"No, you keep quiet. William?"
Yes, ma'am?"
"Give me a reason why I shouldn't push him out an airlock."
"Because—" Phineas looked at his friend and gestured with his hands for him to hurry up. "Sorry, buddy, I've nothing," said William meekly. Phineas's shoulders sagged. "You are a lot of help." "Look," said William, "he has a good plan, and we can't get out of here until we help the Atlanteans. And we really do. And we have really nice ray guns." "And we need you too," added Phineas. Abigail's expression softened.
"All right. I won't put you out an airlock, but don't think that means you're off the hook,"
she added harshly. As they returned to their quarters, Abigail was filled in on the details of the operation. She had the same reaction to Phineas's plan as William had.
"You're a dangerous man, Phineas Frakture," she said as they lugged their bags through the complex. "And when is this all supposed to happen?"
"Actually, right now," Phineas said. It wasn't until then that they noticed a large amount of foot traffic heading in one direction. All of the Atlanteans were carrying weapons of some sort, with only a few, mostly males, were wearing upper body armor. Abigail continuously wiped her mouth as they walked past, while Phineas smiled stupidly when the women went by. William, given a wide berth by all, just smacked his hand across his companions' heads whenever they became too enamored.
"This place is huge," mentioned Abigail as they finally neared their destination. "I wonder how big their city will be."
"Big," said Phineas and William at the same time. They followed the Atlanteans into a massive hub, where through glass windows they could see all manner of underwater craft docked to the various levels of the station. Within the hub there were several open-water bays where larger craft were moored. The largest, they assumed, was the Princess's. It was unlike any of the submersibles used by their own military. Obviously, these ships were much sturdier, having to operate at such depths. The large one was approximately 50 feet in length, and fairly cylindrical in shape, with the front end becoming bulbous. Fins were folded against the sides, and a tail was flattened behind. When the ship was in operation, and these were extended, it would look like a monstrous fish. The other craft had similar designs, though individualized to look like various fish.
"The deepest that we've ever gone is 100 feet. This is remarkable," said Abigail, running her hand over the hole.
"And since when were you an expert in all things nautical?" asked William.
"You don't think that my expertise was limited to aircraft now, did you? I do have other interests, you know. This metal, it's the same as the walls of the complex."
Both Phineas and William touched it and agreed. "What do you think it is?" asked Phineas.
"Not iron or steel, though it has properties of both, and more. I would have to take a sample of it to a metallurgist I know, to find out for sure. How much punishment do you think it could take?"
Phineas pounded on it with his fist, and then shook his head. "A lot," he said, rubbing his little finger. Milos's head popped out of the hatch on the side of the ship in response to the banging. "Good, you're here. Are you ready to go? The princess is already aboard."
"Ready as we'll ever be,"
said Abigail with a smile as she approached the Atlantean. When it was Phineas's turn to step through the portal, he quickly stopped and looked from the inside to the outside. "Is there something wrong, sir?" asked Milos. "The hole is less than an inch thick. Is this thing safe?" "Most assuredly, sir. The ship can withstand the pressure down here and the grasp of an air kraken. No need to worry about your safety," replied Milos proudly.
"Amazing,"
Phineas muttered, not only to the structure, but to what it contained. The interior was lavishly decorated with several padded chairs, an oval table for dining, and a small library, and the walls were lined with painted images of what Phineas assumed was the history of Atlantis. In the aft of the craft there was a chamber for sleeping. Phineas caught a glimpse of a Shira in the back, and quickly turned his attention elsewhere. After a brief examination of the craft, he made his way to the front, where Abigail was already seated in the pilot's chair, getting a tutorial from Milos. A strong twinge of jealousy coursed through his body, until it was quickly replaced with a feeling of elation. Phineas was suddenly aware of a Shira standing behind him, and suddenly forgot about Abigail and Milos.
"She is a quick study, though Milos is also an excellent instructor," Ashira said.
Abigail snapped around at the sound of Ashira's voice, and Phineas could have sworn that she had bared her teeth at her for a quick moment, before a smile came over her face, as Milos put his hand on her shoulder. "She's the best pilot I know," Phineas said proudly. "Abigail's probably teaching him right about now." 2 of the 5 ministers boarded, as well as 4 heavily armed and armored Atlanteans. They all took seats near the front of the ship, and Phineas noticed that William had been surreptitiously guided to the back chair. The hatch was secured after they were seated, and the princess showed Phineas to 2 seats behind the pilot's chairs.
"Are we ready?"
asked Ashira. "Everyone reports that they are in their craft," said Milos.
"Take us home, then,"
ordered the princess. "Go ahead," Milos prompted Abigail. "That lever there. Now pull that knob. You have it. Good." The ship submerged into pitch black, and Abigail suddenly panicked.
"I can't see! Where am I going?"
"Relax," said Milos. "Here." He twisted a dial, and suddenly the window seemed to brighten. The exterior became as clear as day, as if the water had just disappeared. "Wow!" exclaimed both Phineas and Abigail. "Just another way that we've adapted under the water all these years," Milos half-bragged. "Can you handle it now?"
"Just watch me,"
said Abigail. She pulled a few more levers, extending the fins, which majestically flanked the craft. She put the engines to full, though there was no sound, and the ship leapt forward, skimming the bottom of the hub. As soon as they were clear, she brought the ship into a climb and checked its maneuverability by putting it through a series of turns, loops, and rolls. Somewhere behind them, Abigail heard someone retch, and she felt satisfied with the ship's abilities. "Do you always have to do that with a new craft?" yelled William from the back.
"Very well done, Miss Bentley,"
lauded Ashira.
"Milos, please inform the others to fall in line, and you can lead us."
"With pleasure, cousin." For close to an hour the tension slowly built in silence as progress was made. The undersea world was astonishing, revealing wonders that only could have been conjured up in the imagination. A pod of air kraken glided by, not paying any attention to the oncoming fleet. The surface dwellers each held their breath, while the Atlanteans smiled at their unease, knowing full well how protected they were. On a few occasions, aboard William tried to get a better view up front, only to be politely moved back by the ministers. Phineas, though perturbed by this, knew that the ministers were greatly restraining themselves, and could sympathize with their discomfort. He didn't know what triggered William's outbursts, and for all he knew, one could happen while they were trapped inside this enclosed space. Something caught Ashira's attention, and she leaped from her seat and ordered the fleet to halt. Perplexed, Abigail turned and asked why they were stopping.
"There," Ashira said, pointing. "I was hoping to avoid it, but fortune is not with us this day."
Everyone strained their eyes to see what it was. Even William had made it to the front to see without incident.
"What is that?"
Abigail asked. On the seafloor, a giant mechanical beast lumbered along. Its armored body bristled with cannons pointing in every direction.
"It came shortly after the Kraken men did," said Ashira. "The beast's guns pierced our holes as we tried to escape, killing countless Atlanteans. At least 3 others like it surround our city and prevent our people from leaving. Our weapons are useless against it. We cannot stop it."
Phineas leaned forward and stared at the behemoth. "I can stop it," he said.
How could you possibly stop it? Said Abigail. It's huge.
Phineas, with a look of contempt, stood up. I can stop it. Because I designed it.
You're listening to Big World Network.